I'll try and answer all the questions. I'll try and be concise. And please, at the end of the meeting, don't all have to rush off. Let's stay and meet each other and talk about things. You know, that is a part of our meeting, because we're not just here to have a talk and a discussion and that's it. This is part of being clear about what we're doing, what our aims are, so we can together move forward to build a solidarity movement for the people of Palestine. That, and I'll end, because Laura mentioned this at the end and other people have, that it is a fact that Jews, Christians and Muslims have lived together in Jerusalem and in Egypt and in Palestine and for hundreds, millennium. That it has happened means it can happen again. Why not? Israel has only been around since 1948. They've done a lot of damage since 1948, but if you take 2,000 years of history, they've been around for a short period of time. You know, other countries like that were racist countries didn't last. South Africa, as a racist apartheid country, didn't last that long. So we should draw hope from the fact of an integrated, lives that people have led in the Middle East area for millennium. The biblical question is interesting, and I said I'd come back on and explain this to Dave, and unfortunately, last Wednesday, just 1 week ago, we had a demonstration in Manchester. There was 2,000 people there. It was massive, and a young Hasidic religious Jew came down and he said, I have a text that I received this afternoon saying, don't go into Manchester, there's a Palestinian demonstration there. He said, when I got this text, I knew the place I had to be was in Manchester. And he came down. Now, when there is a war against the Palestinians, that is the time when I tell people I am Jewish. I'm not a religious Jew. He is a religious Jew. You only have to see him with the hat and everything. He has religious reasons why he opposes the Israeli state, and it's very simple. The religion of Judaism says, and the brother you've read in the book, it's not a secret. It says that the Jews did not live a pious and religious life, and God punished them by destroying their temple in AD 70. And the Jews had to flee to the four corners of the world. They didn't know it was round at that time. And Jews lived in every country. And one day, this is the Jewish belief, one day the Messiah will come and the Jews will be able to return to Eretz Yisrael, to the land of Israel. Religious return. Not a British civil servant called Lord Balfour. Not a Zionist militia with guns and knives who kill people. You know, the Stern Gang and the Haganah. No, the Messiah. So those religious Jews do not recognise Israel. They say it is a sin, it is to deny Judaism to settle in Israel. And they won't have anything to do with it. And that's why you see them all. Many times you see them with the Palestinian flags and scarves, and they are side by side. MPs. Sir Gerald Kaufman. I'm not a sir. But Sir Gerald Kaufman, the MP for Manchester Gorton, is more a religious Jew than me. He was born in Leeds, was born in an Orthodox family. He's a practicing Jew in many ways. But he said in the Houses of Parliament, it's in Hansard, the most amazing thing he said, my grandmother was not murdered in her bed by the Nazis in Poland in order to give a political excuse. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Sorry for
no problem.
Okay.
For the Israelis to murder Palestinian mothers in their beds in the West Bank and Gaza. What a thing to say. Debbie Abrahams, I didn't know Debbie Abrahams, the MP for Oldham. She spoke last week at the Manchester protest. I thought, who's this Debbie Abrahams? Why is she speaking? But when she said, I was on a parliamentary delegation to the West Bank, I have seen how the Palestinians live, if you can call it live, and that's why I'm here to support the Palestinian people. She's been and seen it. So there are MPs, even a Liberal Democrat said, if I was Palestinian, I'd fire a rocket. I tell you, I do not support the Liberal Democrats. They are traitors and all the rest of it. He said that. They said, sacked him. They said, apologise. He said, no. Good. You know, if people like him can see, more and more people can. Now, there's not enough MPs, but we should pressurise more of them. But they are making a stand, some of them. Because the question of Israel and its support from America has come up. Why do they support it? For the Americans, they used to look at the Israeli army and say, hey, America, we lost in Vietnam. They lost the war in Vietnam. You see the movies, you think they won, but they lost in Vietnam. Look at Israel. It beat all those Arab countries in the 1970s in the Six-Day War. That's a good army. We want them on our side. So they supported Israel. The more bad and evil Israel became, the more they supported it. Because for the American government, Israel is the unsinkable Seventh Fleet in the Middle East, from which they can push their power, military power, to try and dominate that Middle East area, which has got lots of resources. I always wonder, how come the Americans left all their oil under the Arab land? What were they? Left it there by mistake? You know, because America thinks any resource anywhere in the world is theirs. If it's in Georgia, if it's in Ukraine, if it's in the Middle East, if it's in Iraq, they think it's theirs by right, and they want Israel to help them police the world and get hold of those resources. Not that they actually need gas or oil, they've got enough, but they don't want anyone else to have it. So they want to control it. But just look at the record. America lost in Vietnam, lost in Afghanistan, lost in Iraq. They tried to win in Libya, but what have they won in Libya? It's a disaster in Libya. And when people say we marched in our millions, and we did to stop war in Iraq, and we didn't stop the war in Iraq, but we said, but maybe we'll stop the next war. They wanted to go to war and bomb Syria. Now the Assad regime is a brutal, it's unspeakable. Absolutely opposed to it, but if they'd have bombed Syria, that would not have got rid of the Assad regime, they would have bombed the people, you know? And the Assad regime has lifted not a finger to help the Palestinians. But we stopped the war on Syria. They couldn't vote for it in Parliament, and they said, the well of public opinion has been poisoned. We poisoned that well, that warmongers' well, and that was a victory for the anti-war movement. So America is not the all-powerful that it used to be, even though it's got the biggest army in the world. And look at Israel. When did they last win a war? They haven't. They lost in the Lebanon. It wasn't even the Lebanese army that beat them. It was Hezbollah. Hezbollah was created because Israel invaded the Lebanon in 1982 and drove the Palestinian liberation fighters out. And they had a massacre at the Sabra and Shatila camp. And they armed the Christian fascists, the Phalange, and they went in and they killed people. It was terrible, they're killing people with guns. They killed people with knives. They killed all of the people there. Out of the ruins, a new political fighting force arose, the Party of God, Hezbollah. And Hezbollah beat the Israeli army, the fourth most powerful army militarily in the world. In the war they had to retreat. When they retreated, they left behind their proxy army, the South Lebanese army, who had collaborated with Israel. You know, Hezbollah, they said, we forgive you all. And they incorporated them into Lebanese society. Incredible, isn't it, really? Tragically, Hezbollah has now sided with Assad and has lifted not a finger for the Palestinians. And what is very, very good about Hamas is that when the Syrian people rose up with their Arab Spring, Hamas supported the Syrian revolution, not the Syrian government, the Syrian revolution, and that has isolated them a bit. But they could see where real resistance came from, and they were the side of the real revolutionaries. So I think Israel is now in a bind because, America is in a bit of a contradictory situation because it's embarrassed by Israel, especially when they tell Kerry he's a terrorist and leak all these documents and everything. They give him millions and billions of dollars and then they piss all over them. Excuse my language, but that really is the relationship. They don't like it, but they can't ditch Israel because if they look round, yeah, they've got Sisi, the general, they've got King Hussein, they've got the Saudi kings, they've got all of these proxy dictators, but none of them look that stable, do they? They could go. You know, Mubarak went, Sisi could go as well, another upsurge. But they think that Israel, that's reliable. But it's causing us problems, and there's a contradiction there. And all of that, you know, we need Israel, but we don't like Israel. We're embarrassed. It is a paradox of American foreign policy. So it won't be easy to uncouple Israeli imperialist support for the Israeli state. We've got to beat American imperialism as well as the Zionist, outpost, if you like, of American imperialism. The two things go hand in hand, and that's why that there is a change inside America is key. And just remember, the whole of America a few years ago, just 2.5 years ago, there was protests in every single city. We are the 99%, occupying all the squares, all over America. So resistance in America can come back, and these things are linked. Now, Israel, though, is at a high watermark. It's never going to get back. It's going down. The water's come up. It's never going to get the military support, the economic support, the diplomatic support, the political support, the support of the popular masses in Europe and across the world. It's never going to get more support. It's not going to go back after this and say, oh, well, we're a nice country, really. You can all come for your holidays. We'll reopen the kibbutz. It's not going to happen. The stain, the killing of the children, those pictures, we will never get them out of our heads. And I share your concerns about will afterwards it all go back to normal. I don't think so. It can't go back to normal. Once I saw the brutality of the Israeli state, when I was, if you like, a young person, became a lifelong supporter of the Palestinians. I can't believe anyone's going to march for Palestine and say, afterwards I think Israel will support them now. It's not going to happen. The hearts and minds of millions are changed forever. And the political capital, if you like, of Israel is going to get weaker and weaker. And they're going to have to face a whole number of questions. We want them out of the European Song Contest. I don't know why they're in it anyway. We want them out of the European football, whatever. And I don't follow cricket. But the cricket players got the thing, and the American, the cricket board said, no, that's okay. They're all going to wear, is it Hope for Hero t-shirts, aren't they, when they play cricket? But he can't wear a free Gaza thing. Well, he wore it. Good on him. And everyone's saying, good on him. It's not going to go back. It's not going to go back. This is the turning point. And we have to push on and on and on to make sure we follow through for the Palestinians, because a victory for the Palestinians is a victory for all the oppressed people in the world. Now, you mentioned about the film about the Warsaw Ghetto. I will say another personal thing. When I was 13, I found out about the Holocaust. And I couldn't believe it. Not only couldn't I believe how brutal it was that all of, like a third of the family had been wiped out. And I had relatives with tattoos with a number on. I could not believe it. But the other thing I couldn't believe was the photographs and the pictures of broken people going, as we said, like lambs to the slaughter. I said, Mum, why are we from a race of cowards? Why is this? Did not anyone try and fight back? I'd rather fight back and die than do nothing. But when I got older, I found out people did not all go like lambs to the slaughter. They fought back in the resistance camps in the Warsaw Ghetto. And in the Warsaw Ghetto, and I'll say about this, the first act in the Warsaw Ghetto was to assassinate the Jewish leader who was the capo, who kept everybody down, because once he was out of the way, they could rise up and fight. And they didn't win, but they killed a few Nazis. Good. And I'll tell you this, when I read in the morning, Israeli soldiers 10 dead, I feel good, because the more that die, the better, because they are in occupied territory, they are the aggressor army. If Britain was invaded by a foreign army, don't tell her all of us wouldn't say, right, what are we going to do? And we wouldn't cheer if they were killed and knocked back. Of course, any occupied people would do that. When they say Israel got the right to defend themselves, okay, Palestinians have got the right to defend themselves. I do not believe that there's a military solution for Hamas. They can't knock out. But they've already killed more Israeli soldiers than was killed when they had the last operation led, and also when they invaded the Lebanon the last time. So Israel is suffering military losses that they don't like. Now, in the Warsaw Ghetto, the Jews, a minority, they fought back. And although the Warsaw Ghetto in 1940, towards the end of the First and Second World War, did not win, it set a beacon of resistance. People said, look, they're fighting in the Warsaw Ghetto, we could fight too. People are looking to the Palestinians, they're fighting back with nothing. And for Palestinians, existence is resistance. Israel cannot stand the fact that the Palestinians aren't like this, a broken people. That's what they want to do. They want to break the Palestinian spirit. They haven't been able to do that. And that's the inspiration for all of us. There's not a military solution, there's a political solution. And the one that we have in our hands is to advance the mass movement in this country, which means taking these leaflets. On Saturday there will be 12 o'clock at Piccadilly Gardens, and then there's a march up and down the Market Street to the shops that sell Israeli goods. Excellent. On Sunday there's a demonstration from All Saints on Oxford Road, go through town and end up in Piccadilly for a big rally. We want that to be the biggest demonstration ever in Manchester. And I'm so heartened that people have come tonight because they saw a poster. Take some of these. Sellotape them up. People are going, oh great, I want to come on that. Get the word out. Do a few leaflets around the houses. Put them up in the shops, wherever. I've got one in my window. Do this. This will make a difference because people want to know. You'll say, oh, I didn't know there was a day. I would have gone on that. No, make sure everyone knows. If you go to the mosque, take these to the mosque. Ask the imam, announce this. Ask in the church, get this announced in the church. In the trade unions, get the word out. If you are on phone, leave me your text and I will send a text and then you can send it on to your friends and let you know what is happening. Email as well. Please don't come and then leave without leaving your email, phone number and all the rest of it. So the last thing is, this is a turning point. This is the high watermark for Israeli support. From now on, it is onward for the Palestinian people and us, if you like, the reserve army for the Palestinians. In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. Inshallah, we will win one day. Thank you, brothers.